Hi, and welcome to EduSlam, where we spend a few minutes getting to talk to innovative educators from around the world. And today we have a special guest who Tanya will introduce. I'm Holly from San Diego, and
And I'm Tanya from Montreal, Canada. And we have James Sanders. So, James, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here. They told me to wait till the end for the bio or description of who I am, so I'll dive right into the sharing. I know this show is typically where a place where people share education stuff, and I'm down to share that whenever, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I wanted to share something that really inspired me recently, and that's an author. And in the spirit of being in Barnes and Noble, I thought I would actually bring two copies of his book, and that is this guy named Austin Kleon, and he has two books. His first one was Steal Like an Artist, and his second one was Show Your Work. I actually haven't read Steal Like an Artist yet, but I've spent the whole day reading Show Your Work today, and I've just been blown away. So he has 10 tips for what it means to develop a process for creativity. And basically, there's a couple of things that I think would resonate well for educators. A lot of times, I think we are in our classrooms and we create and share every single day for our students. But if you think about it, we're going through a pretty immense creative process when developing a lesson plan and producing something all within a day, and we do that 150 times. 180 times a year in the United States, and probably more other parts of the world. So one thing that I'd love educators to think about is how can you share your work with the rest of the world. And before we go into some of the things in this book that I think resonate with me, I kind of want to get behind the why that I think this is important. So a lot of time teachers or educators or people around the world will ask me, like, how did you get to where you did? And I said it's because I just started putting myself out there and not being afraid. And so 4 years ago or so, I started a website called History with Sanders when I was teaching. And I would, every single lesson, let's see if I can pull it up, I would post it online. And my only audience was my students, but I happened to be in a place where it would be public for the rest of the world. And so here it is. It's just a very basic Google site, and these little buttons here are pictures that I turned into links so that students had a place to start each day. And then let's go to the blog, and then every single day I would post my lesson. And if you teach 7th grade history in California, I suggest looking at it. There's a lot of good stuff here. But if you don't, just think about it more as kind of an example of why you should put yourself out there. It's kind of like my own little portfolio of work, warts and all. And if you see, like, every single day, so on Thursday, December 8th in 2011, I gave my students a quiz. And here's a link to that quiz. On that Friday, we had a current event Friday, and here was the quick question that I asked my students. And if you click on it, it happens to have the link to the actual question and the different ideas that my students posted that day. So it's a great example of putting yourself out there. And that was before let's see if I can go back to am I showing myself? Okay, good. Before I read this book, but a lot of it makes total sense. And so let's see if I can pull up an example where if you share a little bit of something, every single day, one day will look like just this little sharing example, but then 1 month looks like this, and if you keep doing that, right, 1 year looks like this, where it just builds up a whole collection of work. And so if you're on Twitter, or if you have a website or a blog or whatever, I would say, put out your ideas, because people are probably pretty tired of hearing ideas that I have, but I'm not going to stop putting mine out there. But I'd like to have more people do it. And a couple of examples of why it's good. I decided to one day put all of my ideas together on how I thought Google was doing their products wrong in education. So I created a deck, and this was years ago, and went up to Google and got a lunch with somebody and said, here is how all of your stuff is wrong, and here's how I think you could make it better. They didn't take any of those ideas, but they gave me a job. And so I spent the next year and a half working at Google, got a chance to take over the K-12 side of YouTube for Education. And that was all because I just decided to say, hey, here are my ideas for how you can change. And then another example was when we were putting all of our lessons out there for the Empire of Ghana. And I don't know how many teachers taught medieval West Africa and decided to share it online, but the country would reach out to us and said, hey, can you help us create a tourism video for our country talking about some of our history? And so it asked my students then to create a bunch of videos for the country of Ghana, and decided to put it out there. So, those are just two small examples of why I think it's important to put yourself out there. And for every good idea I've had 10 bad ones, which might be a good transition into what Holly wants us to talk about, which is Future Ready Schools. So what Future Ready Schools is, let's see if I can pull up a presentation of it just to show you the logo. The logo is the coolest part at this point. But I spent the last year working in Washington, D.C., advising the president on education technology, and one of the president's initiatives was ConnectEd. And what ConnectEd is this idea that our schools in America, at least, should have high-speed internet, so that students can leverage some of these amazing tools that are online. But as we know, as teachers, most aren't ready yet. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to fill up the dead air while I pull up the deck. And so what ConnectEd did was gave us some goals around the very high level what connectivity should be. And I said, well, it should be more than just connectivity. And so a few friends of mine and myself started this organization called Future Ready Schools. As you can see the logo, that's probably the best part so far. So what Future Ready Schools is we're trying to come up with the characteristics, and Holly's a part of this, but trying to come up with the characteristics of what a great school is. And we're saying, hey, as educators, can we all rally around this idea of what makes a great school? And there's going to be pieces of what leadership looks like, what empowered teaching looks like, what access looks like, and high-speed connectivity. But I also have added since then pieces around students and pieces around devices and different things like that. So really it's this process that I'm going through to try to figure out, what are the things that make a school great. And it's more of my response or my frustration about this whole conflict that we have, at least in the States, around education reform versus the teachers' unions, and we're fighting over stuff that, isn't students. It's about politics. I'm asking the question now, can we go a layer beyond that and get down to just what are we trying to do, and that is prepare students for the future. And whether the students are in a school with union control or non-union control, that doesn't matter. What matters is creating great schools for students to emerge with the skills and tools and experiences necessary to compete at the next level. And so I've partnered with the EdTech team. I've partnered with an organization called Digital Promise and a woman named Karen Cater, and a guy named Evan Marwell at Education Superhighway is also helping me out. But basically we're just trying to come together and ask these questions and see if we can create a new language around how we talk about teaching and learning. So that's my quick demo slam, or if you will.
Well, your life is a slam. Like everything that you're doing, it's fantastic, and that's why I wanted you to be on here, because I get to hear you speak about stuff like this, and you get the pulse of education, and you're doing something to change it, which is super important.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. I've had an opportunity to teach for a number of years, and then I did a startup and did different things, and it's fun to see it from different perspectives. And that goes back to what we started with, is that all came from me not being afraid to put ourselves out there, and that's what you guys are doing with this show, and I know you guys do it in your professional lives as well. Whether it's social media or blogging or writing or speaking, and we are sitting in places that we are today because at some point in our lives we decided that that was okay for us and that was part of our process. And so if anything, it's just more of a call to action to teachers to say, do the same thing, in whatever form that may look like, because there's only upside in my opinion.
Wow. Thank you so much. This is so inspirational.
Well,
Yes.
thank you guys for having me. I love what you guys are doing. I was looking through your website, and you've had a bunch of awesome educators on
Add
before.
one more.
Right.
Okay,
Well, thank you
thanks,
guys.
Did you
Absolutely.
want to, I think we got your bio kind of weaved into the slam. Anything else you
Yeah.
might want to
So
share?
no, I mean just stay in touch. If you have ideas, please share them with me and connect with all of us. Like I love talking about these things. One company that I'd love for you guys to check out if you're a teacher would be EduClipper. As my friend Adam Bello has created a company that's kind of around the idea of curating the web and empowering students to do the same. I've been an advisor on his board for a while, so I'd say check it out. If that would be my one plug, if you will.
So I want to plug, we have Adam Bello talking about EduClipper here on EduSlam. So
Okay. Okay, perfect.
Anyway.
Yeah, well then, let me just reiterate that. It's awesome. Check out Adam's company. I love it.
Okay, well thanks James, and thanks for talking to us at Barnes & Noble.
All right, have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.